order and ready for your approval.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2 is to receive the general manager's report, and I do have something to share with you this month. Okay. Oh, here we go. Let me go back one. Here we go. In partnership with the LVCVA and the steering committee that was created by the LVCVA, the RTC is preparing to embark on a study. We're calling it the Las Vegas Resort Corridor Infrastructure Investment Plan. It does not have any words that connote engineering or even the word study in it, because we are in fact trying to make sure that this is a different type of study. And we'll talk more about it as we move into the conversation. So the catalyst of the study, of course, is the fact that Rossi and his group have talked about the fact they've got $2.5 billion that will be directed towards the Las Vegas Global Business District. As they talk about this, you really do get the feeling that this is going to be something more than just an upgrade to the existing convention center. They talk about the fact that it is going to enhance and develop the brand experience. The building itself will become iconic and an important part of the economic development in Southern Nevada. It includes a World Trade Center, which is again, specifically about economic development and businesses. And what I like most, and we all enjoy most, is that as he talks about how important this facility is to reinventing Las Vegas, he always emphasizes the importance of transportation. It's a very exciting time that we've got two of the major industries here in Southern Nevada, transportation and travel, working together to move forward with a vision. He put together a committee recognizing the fact that it was going to be important, no matter what we end up doing, that we have complete buy-in and consensus and coordinated conversations with many of the industries in Southern Nevada. He's got a committee put together. We've got the logos on there of all the transportation-related industries or businesses. We've got Brent Bell from Whittlesey Bell. We've got Alan Waxler from the Alan Waxler Group, which operates shuttle buses. We've got Curtis Miles from the monorail. We've also got a representative on there who coordinates conventions, and that is Jeff Pressman. He's with Convex, and he coordinates the SEMA convention. We've got the resorts themselves. We've got Virginia Valentine from the Nevada Resort Association, Marty Sparks from Mandalay Bay. She manages their convention center. John Caparella from the Venetian, and we have Greg McCurdy now, who was formerly with Metro, and he is now with SLS. He'll be joining us as well. We have local governments, our local agencies. From Clark County, we've got Don Burnett and Randy Tarr joining us. From the city of Las Vegas, Jorge participates. From Metro, we've got Kevin McCahill. And from NDOT, Rudy and Tracy Larkin participate as well. It's the first time ever that you're seeing at one table everybody who is related to or has a responsibility or a business interest in moving people from where they are to where they need to go. We also have McCarran Airport on there too, Rosemary Vasiliadis, I need to mention. Unique and unusual in that normally I would not have regular conversations with Brent Bell from Whittlesey Bell about how are we going to grow Southern Nevada. Traditionally, it's always been about our silos. You know, I've got my business, you've got your business, and whether or not we intend to compete, sometimes we have maybe a perception of the fact that we are competing. Rossi's done a very good job of making it clear to us, this is not about you. This is not about your business. Take off your silos, and we're going to start talking about how we increase visitor volume from where we're at by 20, 25% are the numbers that he talks about. With international visitor numbers increasing, he would like to double them in the next 20 years, from 14% of our visitors up to 30% of our visitors. So we have met for about a year, this Transportation Steering Committee. We've talked about what it is that we need to be doing, and these are the goals that we've identified. We need to talk about getting people to and from the convention center, the airport, and the resorts. Those are the primary economic centers of activity within the resort corridor. That is why most of our visitors are coming here. We need to enhance the visitors' mobility experience as they're getting from A to B. Ensure that Las Vegas's infrastructure doesn't limit or deter visitor growth. Again, very important consideration as we recognize we're starting to compete globally for convention-type visitors. And convention-type visitors are the ones who are contributing the most when they come. They're dropping the most amount of money. Ensure our mobility goals correlate to our economic centers plans. Again, identifying all of our economic centers, our businesses that have interest in the investment and making sure that we all grow from it and anticipating future demand. There have been ample numbers of studies over the years related to the resort corridor and investments that we need to make. This is just kind of a scrolling, rolling list, starting with the most recent, which was last year. Clark County put together a very effective pedestrian study, and they're making improvements to the corridor right now based on that study. Again, you can see studies for the past 10 years at least, and the furthest one we could find was from 1995, which was the Paradise-Swenson traffic capacity study. There was actually one done in '89 as well that I found that was the original major investment study for the corridor. Lots of good data in that stuff, and we will pass it on to whatever consultant team we end up hiring. But what we want as we move forward is for this study to be different than other studies. This is not an engineering document. That's what they kept telling us. This needs to be a business plan. It's a plan for identifying how we grow Southern Nevada as a business whole, using transportation as a part of it. So what we heard from the committee is we need to do a comprehensive plan that helps stakeholders drive revenue, taxis, shuttle buses, conventions, whoever it is, McCarran. Everybody needs revenue out of this. Our existing infrastructure is not capable of handling more volume. We all agree with that. We have to figure out, what is the monorail? What is it? It is here. What does it become? And that is a conversation we need to be having. What is the right, do we need to invest more in it? And if so, what is the right investment for it? Or do we need to consider moving, take other things? The cab line at the airport must be solved, although Rosemary is quick and Brent Bell are quick to point out to us, since we opened Terminal 3, taxi cab line is moving a lot faster at both facilities. Consider bus rapid transit or mass transit on the Strip. Infrastructure and transportation investment can and will shape the future development of Southern Nevada. Where we choose to invest in terms of transit and transportation, inevitably economic activity will follow. There will be growth and development along whatever corridor we invest in and whatever transportation modes we invest in. We need consensus from the stakeholders on the strategic improvements, so business-based decisions fit within the overall blueprint. Commercial, federal, state, and foreign lenders are going to have to be considered, or at least private sector investors, lenders are going to have to be considered. The FTA, I've gone to Washington, D.C. to meet with them directly to talk not only about this project, but about Maryland Parkway and other investments that we're working towards, and they're very clear in saying, right now there are not federal funds, so be open to whatever opportunities are presented to you. And universally we heard, let's not do another engineering study. Let's make sure it's a vision for the resort corridor and it prioritizes what investments we need to make first. We also are taking a look at what other cities are doing, and in our region, Phoenix, as I think I've shared with you before, has got a pretty aggressive transit and transportation plan. They've got about $6 billion that they'll be investing over the next 4 years. Denver, a very aggressive plan. Denver actually, lost here in Southern Nevada, the RTC collects we get 0.25% of sales tax, 0.25 cent. And that goes for our streets, highways program as well as our transit program, so 0.25 cent. In Denver, they actually get 1% of all sales tax revenue, and it is just for transit. 1% of their entire sales tax revenue is dedicated entirely for transit, which is why they've got a $4 billion project underway right now to connect their major centers of activity, their stadiums, their downtown, and also their airport, as well as their suburban areas. Salt Lake City, ever aggressive in the transit and transportation components. Salt Lake City is one that completely understands that economic growth comes from investment in transit and transportation, and in infrastructure in itself. I just learned recently that, I didn't realize this, the voters of Salt Lake actually voted to increase their sales tax for the sake of building Olympic infrastructure before they even knew that they were going to be selected as an Olympic city. Absolutely amazing to me that you could get voters to do that. But as a result, they certainly have seen a tremendous amount of economic growth over the past 10 years. Another city that we're looking at is Cleveland, only because they've got an aggressive plan for investing in BRT technology, the bus rapid transit technology. A lot of the 3 cities I just mentioned before are aggressively investing in light rail. Cleveland is looking at BRT as an answer for their economic growth. Another city we have looked at just for fun is San Francisco. They have got a lot of money allocated, a very aggressive transit and transportation plan. They've got such urban density that they can justify it, but they've got 1 transit station in their downtown area that's under construction right now. It's called the Trans-Bay Union Station. And that is a $2 billion station, a $2 billion bus station. Now it's multimodal. It's got everything. It's got high-speed rail. It's got preserving space for future high-speed rail. It's got its Caltrans. It's got light rail. It's got buses as well. But it absolutely amazing 5-story facility with a city park on top of it. So on top is a city park, $2 billion facility. One thing that we do have in common with cities that have successful mass transit systems and light rail systems in particular is density. In that corridor, within a 2.5 square mile area along the resort corridor where we've got a lot of employees and a lot of visitors, we are looking at a density per square mile of about 155,000. Now that puts us on par with some of the most major urban areas in the United States, Chicago, San Francisco, in portions of it. Now we're just talking about 2.5 miles, and it's not just residents, it's visitors and employees, but an extremely dense corridor, and that's one of the things that you need in order for any type of mass transit or investment in transit to be successful. So the scope of this study, we're going to go ahead and inventory existing mobility infrastructures that we've got, including monorail and Las Vegas Boulevard. So we'll inventory the capacity of those. We'll take a look at how people are getting into this corridor. Primarily, they are coming from 95, 15, south or north. They're coming from 215, or they are flying into McCarran Airport, or the very small circle down there, the Henderson International Airport. So that's how people are getting into, our visitors are getting into this corridor, and where they're traveling to is the downtown area, and of course the Strip. They're moving to and within those areas. We also need to take into consideration the convention destinations where they're trying to get to. We've got Mandalay Bay, Venetian, and Las Vegas Convention Center shown on here. And then also event centers that we've got. We've got the future MGM, we've got Mandalay Bay, future UNLV, and Cashman Field up north. So movement of people to and within those major economic centers. The scope of the work will include extensive stakeholder engagement. Again, like we talked about, in order for this study to be successful and come up with a vision that our community truly can buy into, you're going to have to do a lot of work with all the stakeholders and understanding what their needs are to help their businesses grow. A lot of data collection. Take a look at existing travel patterns in the resort corridor and the convention district. Run some scenario developments, market analysis, identification of proposed improvements, potential funding sources. Again, we know that federal funds are not going to be the answer, not in the time that we are going to need in order to invest in Southern Nevada. Finance strategies, and then a transportation so the ending result is what we are calling a transportation investment business plan. The schedule of events, we let out the RFP last month. Last month we also had a pre-proposal conference, and it was interesting to see who showed up. I was tickled to see that we had some very significant worldwide firms that have experience in developing things like Olympic City destinations. But then we also saw a lot of local engineering firms and economists show up as well. So if those groups end up teaming together, we'll get some really interesting responses to the request for proposal. Let's see, they will submit their proposals next week. We'll have interviews in January if we need, and we will come back to you at our February meeting with a recommendation for which consulting team to hire. And that is my general manager's report. I will entertain any questions that you might have.
Comments or questions from the board? Mayor Lee.
Don't worry, downtown's on there too. City of North Las Vegas is in there too.
Pardon me?
City of North Las Vegas will be considered as well within the scope.
No, I agree with that. This is interesting, and if you would carry this note on, I would appreciate it. Yes, I'm the mayor of North Las Vegas, but there's an airport there that eventually traffic, it's the number 2 busiest airport in Nevada. It's busier than the airport in Reno. And there's a lot of traffic that goes up and down Rancho. My goal would be to say that that's put in the equation, so
Okay.
as most people will come flying to the airport, I would hope would go down Rancho and go to Fremont Street or be involved in some of the stuff at the lower end of the miracle 4 miles or whatever, you know. But I would say that you can kind of discover that you can drop any kind of plane in there almost, except those really huge planes. But I would like to make sure that that has a discussion point, that maybe someday we could move some of those flights over. They would come down, land at this airport, maybe they'd find their way at Fremont Street and then back up the Strip that way instead of working their way down to Fremont Street. That would be a goal I would want to have discussed.
Duly noted.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner G.
Thank you very much. Couple questions. The monorail, yes, we do need to know what it needs to be. I joked and said a Disney Christmas train, but I was just kidding. But I do remember a conversation with Curtis that I think back of the house makes really good sense of moving employees and so forth. But I think he had mentioned that down the road there may be some federal dollars or to upgrade the cars so they are more like a light rail, that there's some potential to make it a more, not a third world country kind of design. So that may be something that should be in the discussions, and I'm sure he's much more aware of that. But I know about a year ago we were kicking around some things of how do we get people to use it more, and part of it is the perception of it to some extent. So there may be some ways that has new technology that may be out there that make it a jazzier piece that we could then get more people, the employees, coming out of their cars instead of using the Strip. I'm glad you got Cashman Field on there. It's still a jewel, in my opinion. It's a great little park, and there's definitely something that could be done, and that then doesn't isolate another core of folks. The quarter cent is set statutorily, correct?
It was question 10, yeah.
And I'm not a supporter of increasing the sales tax. I do believe it should be broadened and lowered commensurately. That said, the legislature did anticipate the potential Amazon deal, and come January, they are going to start collecting some dollars, about 16 million projected for down locally, but so there may be a commensurate increase that we should be watching for that may come in off of that internet issue. And then if that's the case, that may grow, and we may want to look at how do we allocate those dollars. We in local governments have tons of needs, but there may be a commensurate increase just in that quarter cent because of that dollar amount coming in. The other thing that I would like to be aware of, for those of us at least that have the Strip in our districts, is as we're doing zoning or approvals, I want to make sure I'm asking for whatever I need to ask for transportation-wise, because I think that there's we've got the wonderful Genting group coming in with the resorts world over there on the old Echelon site, making sure that they've got ways to move people. SLS was originally going to have a stop or something with the monorail, if I remember right, from their original remodel. So we might want to double check where that's at. But just seeing, so we know if we're asking for the right of way, what transportation, or at least having those conversations with those property owners, even if it's 2 years down the road, because that convention foot traffic, they're kind of beautifying the convention center drive and widening the sidewalks and doing some things that way. That's an entryway into the Strip, but it's also an entryway into whatever's redone and remodeled for the convention center. So I just want to make sure that those of us that have to approve that kind of stuff are really thinking about it.
I will share you one of the reasons that this is a pretty aggressive schedule as well is that we want to take about a year to do this study so that we could give you and legislators or who are all decision makers in Southern Nevada kind of a blueprint guide for what it is that we want to work towards for exactly that reason, so that you can make wise decisions.
And I know your staff does meet with ours, and I know we sometimes say we got to call out a bus stop or whatever it is, but I think you're talking a little bit even more so, and so we should be cognizant of that. Especially if there's any other development on the north end of the Strip, which I hope there will be at some point. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman.
Mr. Chairman, and Tina, I'm really pleased that you're starting this process with a vision, because I think it's important that we realize that we're building the community of lasting value for the future. It's not just what we need now and next year and 5 years from now, but we're actually talking 20 to 50 years out. And as the gaming industry is looking at their role on the Strip and how they compete worldwide and globally, when folks are being moved around quickly and easily in other resort industries, we need to make sure that we're being competitive as well, moving those folks. I know I'd heard the story of the mayor of Mesa coming into town, and he was standing at his hotel, and he could see where he needed to go, but it took him an hour in a taxi cab line to get where he needed to go, and he said he could have flown up from Phoenix and accomplished the same thing. And we don't want that. We want people to feel like they're coming to Southern Nevada and that they can move quickly. And this is truly, while we want to diversify our economy, this is our major industry, and we need to make sure that they work well in our valley. So, thank you.
Continue.
All right. Item number 3 is to receive the Nevada Department of Transportation Director's Report. And Rudy is unable to be with us today, but Mike Hand, our Director of Engineering, has agreed to take the report.
Thank you, Tina. Rudy had 4 items to share with the board today. He notes that NDOT and Governor Brian Sandoval greatly appreciate the letter of support from RTC Chairman Larry Brown, and also thank you, Tina, for your presence at their November 9th Interim Finance Committee meeting up in Carson City. The IFC's approval means NDOT can receive and expend $100 million of highway revenue bond funds for the purchase of right-of-way for phases 3 and 4 of Project Neon. NDOT will request a resolution of support from the Transportation Board in January and then proceed with a Board of Finance request to issue these bonds in early 2014. Rudy also notes that NDOT will be releasing a draft request for proposals to the 3 shortlisted firms that were pre-qualified to submit proposals for design, build, operate, finance, operate, and maintain of the initial phases of Project Neon. And the final RFP, Rudy says, will be released in spring of 2014. His second item is a future I-11 item down in Boulder City. NDOT has advertised a project for construction of frontage roads, drainage system, retaining walls, and relocating utilities. A bid opening, Rudy says, is scheduled in 6 weeks. And thanks to Rudy for giving us the A-team, Tina, on the Boulder City bypass of Tony Lorenzi and Dale Keller. Tremendous support on our Phase 2 efforts on that project. Number 3 is Tropicana Avenue and Las Vegas Boulevard pedestrian bridges. Rudy says that NDOT has shortlisted 3 firms to compete for the construction manager at risk project to replace 16 escalators at the Tropicana Avenue Las Vegas Boulevard pedestrian bridge. At that intersection. Final selection will be announced later this month. And finally, Blue Diamond Road Safety Meeting. In order to address concerns with recent traffic fatalities on Blue Diamond Road, NDOT joined with RTC, Clark County Public Works, Metro, Nevada Highway Patrol at a recent neighborhood meeting hosted by Nevada State Senator Justin Jones, Assemblyman James Healy, and Clark County Commissioner Susan Brager. NDOT is performing a traffic signal warrant analysis for Blue Diamond and Cimarron. Pedestrian activated push buttons and crosswalks are being considered for existing Blue Diamond Road traffic signals located at Durango Drive and Buffalo Road. NDOT also committed to conducting a road safety audit in 2014 to determine what other actions can be taken to improve safety along Blue Diamond. With that, we will attempt to answer any questions you have or get back to Rudy with any inquiries. Thank you.
Commissioner June Kiliani.
Thank you. I had to make my note to myself last night. Would you let them know that the Lake Mead sign and exit sign, it's 82 and 81B, have been badly tagged for like the last month. And I don't know if anybody ever called it in, so I'm calling it in.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, I'll share with you that as soon as you texted me, I texted Rudy and Tracy last night, and they've got a maintenance team on it
Okay, all right. Sometimes you don't see if you don't drive that area,
Yeah.
and I don't normally go out that way, so, but it's been a month. Status of Wi-Fi. Has the state got any kind of Wi-Fi projects along their highways or anything along those lines, do you know? Because they never did the 911 emergency type call box like we talked about a gazillion years ago, but I'm wondering if there's ever any anticipation down the way, especially for people that break down in roads and things along those lines. Do you know if they've
Not
ever
that we're
talked
aware
about
of, but
that?
we'll confirm that.
Okay, and then Tropicana, long overdue for those escalators. They're constantly broken down. So I think that that's going to be very happy for the customer as well as anybody else that actually uses that. So
Yes, and just so you know that it's LBCVA who's actually funding that. They gave some money to the state in order for the state to be able to take that on.
okay, so then they're doing. Did you say it's a CMAR you can do escalators as a CMAR project, or?
It is the CMAR, and they've got 3 shortlisted firms for 16 escalators.
Okay, so CMAR is no longer restricted to just roadways then, I guess. Maybe I thought in my mind it was, so I learned something new today. So you can pretty much do it on any kind of bidding. Who knew?
Just, we used
Who
CMAR
knew?
for
Did you
our,
know?
for our Bonneville Transit Center.
Right, multiple, like 7 projects
Like, we
today.
used CMAR for Bonneville Transit Center and some of our other centers.
I guess I didn't think of it that way. I just kept thinking of roadways. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, that brings us to item number 4, which is your first citizens' participation period.
This is our first public comment period. Those wishing to speak on a specific agenda item that's posted today, now is the opportunity. I have some cards. On agenda item number 35, that is non-consent. So if David Fromier,
Good morning, thank you. My name is David Fromer, and I serve as the Executive Director of Planning, Construction, and University Architect at UNLV. I'm very happy to be here before you today to offer some public comment. First, I've been at UNLV a little over 10 years and been in the Valley about 20 years, and have worked with RTC in a variety of projects at UNLV and outside of UNLV. And both myself and my colleagues at the university have developed nothing but tremendous respect for the team. They really do an exceptional job and have the community interests at heart in terms of their transit planning, and broader than transit planning in my mind. So I wanted to offer that comment. And with the item number 35, the Maryland Parkway Alternatives Analysis Project, RTC reached out to UNLV very early in the process, brought us in as a stakeholder, and we've had the opportunity to not only participate, but also observe the leadership brought by RTC in this study, and again, the broad community interest that the Maryland Parkway Alternatives Analysis brings with it. So between the leadership team, executive management, project management, public outreach and communications, transit planning, the consulting team, and others who led the project through RTC, we've been truly impressed with the breadth of their efforts and the community engagement they've brought to this process to really make this a holistic project. The process, from what I saw over the past year or so, was very intensive, very broad, very inclusive, and really strive to bring in community engagement and really have all the stakeholders available and part of the process to participate and provide their input. The study also took into account not just transit, but the broad land use and community impacts that Maryland Parkway improvements could have that would benefit the whole valley. So I commend the RTC on thinking about this not solely as a transit project, although that's certainly at the core of what they do, but this is really a community develop and reinvestment kind of project. So we at UNLV and Maryland Parkway, the fortunes of UNLV are directly tied to Maryland Parkway. So we're very excited about this study. We're very excited about this project and to see the recommendations that RTC is going to come forward with. And we see a lot of potential in that corridor, certainly for our own purposes and our students, faculty, and staff, and our engagement with the community, but all of the stakeholders along that corridor from the city down to the airport. We see this as something that is a great opportunity to reinvest in a corridor in Las Vegas and really make something great happen on Maryland Parkway. So thank you.
Thank you, David. And we're going to hear item 35, so if you have the time to sit around and
Well, and we just have to comment that
wait until we hear that item. Mr. Cedarberg? Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to
Anyone
comment real
else?
quick on the fact that we want to just emphasize the importance of the partnership and the partnership that we've had with UNLV. Very close. We are like-minded, and they have been great partners for us as well.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on a specific posted agenda item? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll close this portion of public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That brings us to your consent agenda, which is made up of items 5 through 34 and may be taken in one motion.
A motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That brings us to your first non-consent item, which is to receive information on the Maryland Parkway Alternatives Analysis and approve a locally preferred alternative. And David Swallow will present that to you.
Morning, Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Dave Swallow, Director of Engineering for Capital Projects with the RTC. I'm here today to bring you up to speed on what we've done over the last year or so on the development of an alternatives analysis for Maryland Parkway. As you are aware, Maryland Parkway is a critically important corridor to the valley. It connects to many activity centers and prominent neighborhoods, including, of course, McCarran International Airport, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, the Boulevard Mall, Sunrise Hospital, and the Huntridge area, as well as into downtown Las Vegas, which, as you know, is emerging with a lot more activity these days. So we think it's very important for, Maryland Parkway has been important in the past, and I think it's going to emerge as a more important corridor as we go forward in the future. The study area that we considered was a 6-mile segment that generally went from McCarran Airport to downtown Las Vegas. And so that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. When we started the process last year, the first thing we went out to do was to meet with the community to identify their concerns. So we set up a series of public workshops to understand those concerns and to use those to develop proposed alternatives. In addition to our normal public outreach, we engaged a number of stakeholders throughout the corridor representing government agencies, businesses, the university, Sunrise Hospital, the mall, even some of the churches and neighborhood associations. And so we kept that group engaged and kind of complemented what we did throughout the community outreach and took that input to heart in developing the alternatives that we're going to present today. So today we're really focusing on the LPA, or locally preferred alternative, and this is really intended to tell us what you would like to go forward with and really defines what the project would be in going forward with further studies. The key decisions for developing this locally preferred alternative included how to space out the stations and where they would be located, the different alignments north and south of the core corridor, so north of Charleston into the downtown area and south of Russell towards the airport, and where we ended the route on each end. We also looked at how to integrate the guideway into the corridor, how to, especially with the transit component, how best to fit it into the streetscape. And part of that also required that we look at the number of travel lanes that we would maintain and then the number of transit lanes. And associated with that, what kind of right-of-way acquisitions may or may not be required. And finally, we looked at 2 different transit technologies in going forward. One was our bus rapid transit, which is similar to what we have with our SDX line out here on Grand Central Parkway, as well as a rail option. And we've talked about light rail or even modern streetcar as options for rail. So going to the first decision, we look at station locations. And this is a critical part of balancing accessibility with reliability. The more stations you have, the more accessible the system is, but the less reliable it is, and vice versa. We can, improve our travel time by reducing the number of stations. 75% of the boardings on Maryland Parkway occur at the top 10 stations, and so, we have, high boarding areas, and then we have some in between that are near major activity centers that we want to accommodate. So we're looking at that balance. And so this is a map of our existing Route 109, and you can see here depicted what represents our existing stop locations throughout the corridor. And they're a little less, they're approximately a quarter mile or less apart throughout the corridor. What we're looking at doing is maybe consolidating some of those stops and focusing them on the higher activity centers. So our recommendation is to maybe space them out to close to a third of a mile. This is similar to what we did on Sahara Avenue when we did the Sahara Express project, and that has been a very successful project. Even though we reduced the number of stops, we saw a 50% increase in ridership. So we think on Maryland Parkway there are some opportunities to maybe remove some of the stop locations and improve the reliability of a potential system. The next decision was on the northern alignment and where to end the route in the northern part of the corridor. And so we looked at whether or not to stay on Maryland Parkway north of Charleston Boulevard, and then maybe use another cross street like Carson or Ogden to go west towards the Fremont area. The other option was to look at going from Maryland at Charleston and heading towards the Bonneville Transit Center first, and then going to the Fremont Street area where you have of course, a lot of employment as well as emerging activities. In the end, we decided to go with the latter option, which is reflected here. And this kind of shows you, as we get towards Charleston coming north, we would turn front onto Charleston, or maybe go a little bit further north of Charleston to hop on any of those, either Hoover, Gass, Garces, Bonneville, or Clark, to go westward towards the Bonneville Transit Center, and then route northward past the City Hall over towards the Fremont Street area up near Ogden or Stewart. This also enables us, if in the future we have the development of the Cashman Field area or the cultural corridor, this provides for future extensions to that area, or further east if there's more development east of Las Vegas Boulevard in the Fremont area. Going to the south, our current Route 109 goes south to McCarran Airport, provides service at Terminal 1, and then ends at the South Strip Transfer Terminal. When we were looking at the demands on the route from different parts of the valley, especially from the south, we saw that they're pretty spread out, and that the extra length to the South Strip Terminal wasn't absolutely necessary that we maintain that with this route. That could be supplemented in the future with other, maybe new express routes or services that are coming from the South Strip to the University Transit Center. So we looked at if, in the end we want to terminate the project near the airport, and depending on which technology we go forward with, will tell us where we could end. Now, if we go with bus rapid transit, we could certainly extend to Terminal 1 as we do today, and even to Terminal 3 as we're proposing to do with a new service in the spring. If we go with rail, we would really be limited to Terminal 3 as we don't think that it would be cost effective to try to extend rail service across Paradise and Swenson over to Terminal 1. But we are looking at options to work with the airport in developing kind of a handoff between the public transit system and the airport's on-site circulation system. And that could be with vertical circulation over Russell Road directly into Terminal 3. Something similar to, you could also have automated people movers like they do in Phoenix that connects Sky Harbor Airport to the light rail station via the SkyTrain. So certainly there are options there. But in the end, we're looking at going forward with the new service. We would stop at the airport, not go further south to South Strip. When we looked at how to integrate transit into the corridor, we considered mixed flow travel just as we do today on Maryland Parkway, where the buses are in a general purpose traffic lane. We also looked at side running dedicated lanes similar to what we have on Sahara Avenue. And then the center running lanes, which is similar to what we do on Grand Central Parkway and Casino Center Boulevard. And out of those, we heard an overwhelmingly strong support from the public and their community stakeholders that they wanted to see transit in the middle. They think it's important for the development of the corridor that transit is given some prominence and better ability to move along the corridor. When you look at a center running guideway, the transit service is not susceptible to the same traffic conditions. We're not stacked behind the other queues that maybe the cars are waiting, especially if you're in the right lane and there's right turners waiting to turn at intersections. That can really hold up our service. So by putting it in the middle, we do improve our reliability, reduce our travel time. That would require that we look at going in the center running just between Russell and Charleston. As we go north of Charleston, frankly, the traffic volumes drop down so much that we could go mixed flow in the downtown streets, or we could do a dedicated guideway anywhere on any of those corridors in the downtown grid. The other consideration is the number of travel lanes. If we're looking to go in the middle, we have an existing amount of right-of-way available to integrate transit into the middle of the corridor. If we're to do that, we're proposing to repurpose a couple general purpose lanes to dedicate towards transit, and then take the extra width to accommodate to making a buffer between the pedestrian areas and even adding bike lanes. Now, in some sections of the corridor, this is a pretty easy decision because the traffic volumes are low enough. In other parts of the corridor, there could be a lot more congestion just because of increased activity. And in response to especially concerns raised by Clark County Public Works, we added that we're proposing 4 general traffic lanes, but to maintain 6 general traffic lanes where necessary if traffic requires it. The other considerations are right-of-way. So the approach would be to, of course, minimize right-of-way acquisition and limit it to, focus it at intersections where we would add turning lanes to maintain the existing capacity of intersections while we're also reducing the number of travel lanes in between intersections. And then if we go forward with 6 lanes and the center running transit, we would need to acquire larger swaths of right-of-way to accommodate that cross-section. Now, the final decision was whether to go forward with bus rapid transit or a rail option, and we considered both. You can see here 2 depictions of what it would look like to have a center running guideway with a station in the middle of the road, similar to what we see out here on Grand Central Parkway. In comparing the two quantitatively, we look at how much it costs to build the system and then how much it costs to operate that. So looking at the capital cost to build it, for bus rapid transit, for center running guideway, we're estimating a cost of about $100 million to construct. With rail, it would be about $300 to $320 million. The annual operating costs would go up from what we have today, which is about $4 million a year, to $6.4 million per year for bus rapid transit and $10.1 million per year for rail. So a little, different cost than what we have today, but certainly more efficiency in the system and hopefully more reliability for our patrons. Qualitatively, though, we also look at what is the potential for economic development in response to the project. So we looked at a number of different cities where we've had light rail or streetcars and even bus rapid transit implemented, and there's great potential between both. Salt Lake City seeing, fantastic development in response to the light rail system, as has Cleveland seen, great response and investment in the Euclid Avenue corridor, which is a bus rapid transit system. As far as operations go, we look at the ease of extending a bus rapid transit line compared to a rail line. And as bus rapid transit doesn't absolutely require the infrastructure, it's much easier to extend bus service than it is to do rail. Flexibility of operations, with buses, it's very good flexibility. With rail, we're kind of limited on flexibility because if there's a crash or a detour or some other incident, we would have to stop the rail service in response to that and create what's called a bus bridge to, take passengers off a train and put them on a bus to go the rest of the corridor. When we get into the downtown area, the detours are a lot more prominent on an ongoing basis, and maybe with more activity we could see an increase in that. The other important part for the investment, as far as the private sector investment that we heard, at least from the development community, was the permanence of the infrastructure and the confidence that gives them to invest in properties along a corridor. And if we go with a center running BRT guideway, that certainly has good permanence to it. Rail, they feel, has a little bit more permanence to it. Looking at the performance characteristics, if we're going with a center running guideway, really there's minimal difference in the speed between bus and rail. They're controlled by the same traffic signals. They're not susceptible to traffic cues like if they were in mixed flow travel lanes. So very good reliability on both. We look at, though, the average weekday ridership would probably increase. Just for perspective, our current ridership on Maryland Parkway, Route 109, is about 9,500 to 10,000 riders per day. So you would see an increase with bus rapid transit, and even more of an increase with rail. We explain that as part of the persona that rail has is, a more attractive service, more reliable, so it has that kind of train factor that attracts more riders. And this also translates to a reduction in auto trips that we might see on the corridor today that are moving towards transit. So our recommendations that we wanted to present to you today for going forward that kind of define what the project is, moving the stops out from quarter mile to third mile, In the north, routing from Charleston and Maryland north to the Bonneville Transit Center first, and then hitting the other employment centers and activity centers in downtown. Using a center running guideway along the way, and to do that going with 4 traffic lanes plus 2 dedicated transit lanes, and where necessary keeping the 6 traffic lanes and adding the extra transit lanes. Right-of-way, we would look to focus at intersections that, to accommodate turning movements and minimize that as much as possible. And then as far as technology, you can give us direction, but we're proposing that you could either go with BRT or rail or both. With the technologies, we could, one consideration is you could always start with a bus rapid transit type guideway, and if the corridor develops, you could reinvest in that and upgrade it to a rail type system. So these are our recommendations to present to you today. The next steps, once you decide what recommendations you'd like to go forward with, we would go forward and present this to, finalize the alternatives analysis study, present it to the Federal Transit Administration, and then work with them to enter into the project development phase, which would start with the environmental study, so either an environmental assessment or an environmental impact statement, and then also the preliminary engineering to support that. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Thank you very much, David, for your presentation. This was excellent, and I think that what we're in the midst of right now is really a culture change where we are creating a more attractive and reliable option in transit than maybe previously. And I think that people, as we have better vehicles and a system that works, that connects people to their employment centers or to where they want to go for recreation and amenities, I think they're more and more likely to use them. I think we'll see movement out of the car and into transit, and I think that this is a perfect corridor to have that really be a demonstration for our community, and because you've got so much going on from one end to the other of Maryland Parkway. So I'm very excited about the potential that Maryland Parkway will have, not only for Maryland Parkway, but for the rest of the valley, because this really is a premier location to demonstrate to the rest of the community how this works.
Commissioner June Kiliani.
Thank you. Not only would I echo that, it happens to be in my district, but it shouldn't matter where it's at. It really is the connectivity of this valley, and I think it's just the one that kind of dropped into our laps as far as we were moving ahead to reanalyze it from the time when all that growth and traffic were coming in. Southern Nevada Strong's been a great partner, and I think they've, through SNRPC, it's one of the ones that they want to work on. They assisted with the community outreach. I have to say it was phenomenal. I participated in quite a few of the meetings, but really did solicit from both the residents that are there, the people riding the buses, the folks from the university, the businesses along the corridor. It kind of drove us to put together our Maryland Parkway Business Coalition, which has been very active. So there's been a synergy that's going on no matter, and if it can work there, then we can duplicate it other places. I think that's the key piece, because that corridor, just as to me, it's the linkage from the airport to North Las Vegas, bless you. And that is the flow through where we have that interconnectivity. And then as you go through, you're going through the city. We had folks come from the downtown project, a couple of the meetings. They wanted to make sure that there was some connectivity where they could come in and get in and out. I actually think you should eliminate some of the stops, and I'm glad that that's actually some of what was recommended. We have to be sensitive, like Lois and I had to, where our seniors were at. But most of these actually will wind up better for people because we have so many curb cuts on Maryland, because you have each of those little individual shopping centers from a gazillion years ago. I think that, and I'm glad UNLV was here, because if they move forward, we recommend as the authority board to do something with a stadium. It'll be on the Flamingo-Swenson side. We have to make sure that as we're doing this study that we're looking at the true connectivity that could impact that. That corridor, and I know you're already working with them on it, and I'm glad to see that David was here. I have one quick question. How long does it take to restripe right now the Flamingo and the Tropicana lanes if we asked NDOT to do that? Is it NDOT that has to do it, or Public Works, if we wanted at least accommodate not backing? Because that's a no-brainer. That's just some paint. I'll go do it. Put the dots down for me, and I'll go paint it. But I don't know who. I know Trop is a state highway still, and I think Flamingo is, but if it's on Maryland, is that ours in the county then?
Maryland is Clark County south of Sahara, north of Sahara. It falls under the city's purview.
So maybe we could talk to our Public Works about, Dennis, do you have an idea? I mean, because I know NDOT did the one on Maryland at Sahara when they did the improvements there, but I'm sure they coordinated that with you.
Dennis Cedarberg, Clark County Department of Public Works. Maryland Parkway is under the jurisdiction of Clark County Department of Public Works. Flamingo and Tropicana are both NDOT. And I assume the striping you were looking for is on Tropicana and on Flamingo.
And Maryland and Flamingo. So part of it
Maryland.
would be us, is trying to get that turn lane, because when I was at Chez Target or trying to get in there the other day, it backs up because they're trying to make that corner
On the
turn.
right turn at Tropicana?
Yeah.
Yes, we're south of Tropicana on Maryland Parkway. We looked at the volumes dropped significantly south of Tropicana. We do have a heavy right turn movement southbound to westbound there, so we're going to restripe that and make it a dedicated right turn only lane
Perfect.
at
Could
that
we look at the
location.
one at the Sahara in Maryland as well?
Sahara, Maryland going southbound?
Yeah.
That would be the city because
Oh,
the
that's
city
the
is
city.
north of Sahara.
Okay, so I'll talk to Councilman Ross then. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you. Dennis, don't go too far. Any other questions from the board? Those wishing to speak on item number 34, 5 that have submitted cards, Dennis Cedarberg.
Again, Dennis Cedarberg, Clark County Department of Public Works Director. First, I'd like to thank the RTC for letting us be a member of the Stakeholders Committee and allow us to voice our concerns about addressing the vehicular traffic that we have on the Maryland Parkway corridor south of Sahara Avenue. As has been indicated, Maryland Parkway is an important corridor. It was probably one of the first corridors to develop businesses going south from Sahara with residential. The hospital, the first mall, was built on Maryland Parkway. And so over time, it's continued. It is unique. It's a 100-foot right-of-way. It has 3 lanes. It's only posted 30 miles per hour. You won't find a 6-lane roadway here in the valley posted 30 miles an hour. And that's due to the congestion, the vehicular congestion. And we have signals every quarter mile. We have driveways, approximately 200-foot spacing on average. So we're glad to see the RTC take into consideration in those areas where we do need 6 lanes to convey traffic to try to address that and hope that not lose focus of the need to provide mobility through automobiles in the corridor also.
Thank you, Dennis. And my understanding, David, is that as we finalize alternatives with that analysis, the county's concerns and comments would be incorporated at that point.
In fact, this is more of starting a more detailed process to consider it, much further. In addition to the traffic, also look at access management policies and things like that maybe could be incorporated into our recommendations in the future.
Commissioner June Kiliani.
Thank you. And Dennis's concerns have been duly noted because we were the capacity before I took this office, that was the problem there as well as on Paradise. There's been some new numbers is my understanding, but we do need to be sensitive to, especially some of that can be cured with the turns and the dedicated lanes and that part of it. While I would, when I think it was Michael Saltman first wanted to do his Midtown project, my neighborhood said at that time, no, not only no, but heck no, on eliminating some of the lanes. But I think in the last 5 to 6 years, that has somewhat changed, and from the community meetings that has. I have to be sensitive to Dennis's concerns, but to me, that's a unique corridor, and there's so much that could be done with it. So I'm glad it's both BRT and light rail. I would still love to have light rail, but I understand that we have to look at the economics of it. But there may be potentials for interconnectivity to come down the road for some things. So at least it doesn't stop us from moving forward on that. Not having to gain right away makes a big difference. I'd love to have the bike lane, and that's what I heard from the meetings, because we have a lot of folks that live in the immediate area that ride their bikes to UNLV and or work. It's become a new mode of travel. And if you've ever ridden your bicycle, which I have on Maryland Parkway, I wind up cutting down Sierra Vista, Dumont, a variety of other things because they don't watch for people, and it's crazy. And we're not supposed to be on the sidewalks anyway with the bicycles. So I am sensitive to that part of it. But you have a lot of kids. You have Orr, you have Peterson, you have a lot of the school kids that either hoof traffic it or would ride their bikes if they had safer routes to schools, really, in the long run, and that's part of that programming. So I think this is a wonderful start. I think we have to look at the bigger picture. It's not just about Maryland. really, it's the airport to North Las Vegas, downtown interconnect, and it's about making sure that we're really thinking out of the box and doing things a little bit differently on how we used to do business. So I brought up, we have to, for those of us, we have to make sure that I'm being aware of what projects may come in. The Boulevard Mall was just purchased by Roland Sansone. We met last night, so he wants to work with us on some things. There could be a new synergy, economic development, small businesses that also stem from all of this that I think will help that entire corridor and then the county as a whole. So I think that this is exciting, and wherever we can cobble together revenue to be able to start, keep the study going. I think we're still on the list for Southern Nevada Strong to assist with some of that grant dollars then too. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, could I
Councilwoman.
I wanted to check with what Chris said. Chris, did you say that the lines were not clear north of Sahara? That would be the city responsibility also? Excuse me.
I believe that's what Dennis was saying. Now, with the remodel that they just did with the BRT, I think everything's been properly striped and it's nicely bumped and everything going across down Maryland Parkway as you head north.
Yeah, the latest concern that we have, going northbound through the intersection at Sahara and Maryland Parkway, there are lines across the intersection guiding you into the lanes across the street. On the southbound portion of Maryland Parkway at Sahara, the guidelines through the intersection are not there.
That is a dangerous, very dangerous area. So
I'm just trying to see, is this in the city or is this?
It's in the city, that portion.
The dangerous area is Sahara and Maryland Parkway.
Southbound Sahara, Maryland Parkway.
Southbound.
Southbound Sahara and Maryland Parkway.
Just to mention, I may have misunderstood Commissioner Giuliani's concern. I thought she was talking about a right turn lane striping at that intersection. But there is a concern that we're aware of guiding you on the offset between the lanes north of Sahara and the lanes south of Sahara on the southbound travel.
Well, I can carry that back, of course, to our city. I know that we're putting in lots of bicycle. Well, of course, the city's right here, so I don't need to do it. Yeah, he's already written it down.
And very truthfully, going north, it's fine. You're right, because I actually, a neighbor called about that, because if you don't have the striping going through, you automatically, we have high incidences of accidents there. They did a very good job of going in the north, but it ends. You don't visually see it. It's what they had to wind up doing on Las Vegas Boulevard in Sahara. For a while there, they didn't continue that bump and striping through the intersection, and people were going straight and crashing into each other because it was a mess. So that would be very helpful to have that.
It's really wonderful to see here today all the entities working closely together. North Las Vegas, I didn't know they were the second
the airport.
used airport in the state. The university, RTC, the county, the city, seeing us so that we're not in our silos, as we say, and we're blending together. And what you've done on this project, I think, is absolutely excellent. Much needed, much looked forward to. And I just say thank you very much for all that hard work, because it certainly looks good.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So we'll entertain a motion on the recommendations for a locally preferred alternative as depicted in slide number 14. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Your next item number 36, will be handled by Assistant General Manager M.J. Maynard.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, item 36 is to approve and adopt Resolution 327, requesting that the Board of Clark County Commissioners issue highway improvement revenue bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $100 million for the purpose of financing transportation improvement projects, and authorize the chairman to sign. The debt service on securities, when issued, will be repaid by revenue from the indexing of fuel tax. On September 3rd, 2013, Clark County enacted an ordinance imposing additional taxes on vehicle fuels pursuant to Assembly Bill 413, which was approved by the 77th regular session of the Nevada State Legislature. This action has made it possible to issue debt to fund streets and highway projects. New projects in the amount of $700 million will be funded and built. This bond issue of $100 million will be the first in a series of debt issuances to fund the $700 million construction program. Total bond issuance is estimated to be $100 million. And Mark Trosdahl, our Director of Finance, is here to answer any questions you may have.
Comments or questions? Commissioner June Kiliani.
Thank you. I think this is exciting, especially just before the holidays, sort of an early Christmas gift for all those companies and businesses that are waiting with bated breath to get that. I hope we're going to make sure that we've got a list of, I think Mark put together, of the projects that will begin. But Tina said that you have a great signage, because we should let the public know, paid
Oh,
for by your 413
Yeah,
tax.
we'll do that at our next board meeting.
Okay.
We'll bring to you the logo that was created to help educate the public, and educate, not advocate, on the motor vehicle fuel tax indexing and the projects that are being built with those
Okay,
funds.
good. And I think it was Councilman that was asking for like how many numbers the jobs created. That would be kind of cool to see too.
Yeah.
Just as a thought.
We had talked about that as a on a quarterly basis, bringing to you the projects that were underway and trying to assess the number of jobs that had been created as a result of that. So that is one of the things we're thinking about doing in 2014.
And, you know,
for you on a
local
quarterly basis.
company, local business, local,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the word local might help in whatever you're doing
Sure.
so, as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Commissioner, you're right on the money. I mean, this is our own economic engine, if you will, especially when it comes to infrastructure and transportation needs. And this money is going to be reinvested right back into this community. And, you know, I've heard the naysayers at one time say, well, you know, no more taxes, no more taxes. But this gets reinvested. I remember when I first got elected in 05, our city manager pulled me aside and said, let me kind of explain to you how what we do in this community. We reinvest that money, whether it's in a building or a park or a road or a bus shelter, it doesn't matter. That money gets reinvested and it creates those jobs that are so important today. So good point on an early Christmas present, especially to the businesses and property owners waiting and have been in limbo for so long for this project to move forward. So with the advancement of this agenda item, it's going to be very exciting to see what's happening coming down the road. Now, granted, road construction's terrible. No one likes road construction. Orange cones, but you know what? When it's done, it's going to be great. And I'm looking forward to that.
Think of the orange cones as jobs.
Every orange cone's got a job.
Entertain a motion. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Your last item
Motion
is
carries.
Your final citizens' participation period.
So the second public comment period set aside for those wishing to speak to the board on matters relating to the RTC. Now is your time. As the cards come down. Councilman Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and board members. I appreciate that. Councilwoman, you alluded to the importance of all these organizations working so closely together. I want to commend Ms. Quigley and her staff for having the foresight to understand the needs of this community, whether it's south end of the Strip, north end of the Strip, North Las Vegas, Centennial Hills, wherever it is. You guys are doing it. And in my mind, I see a lot of connectivity. I see these organizations in your general manager's report. Awesome, exciting time. And then when Mr. Swallow gave his report on the Maryland Parkway corridor, I think I'm going to think 20 years from now, we need to be doing that again on some of these other corridors. And probably that's the next step, is examining those corridors. If you recall, Mr. Skanke's presentation to us on what I-15 corridor is going to look like in 20 years, it's scary. And we've got to be thinking outside the box today and making these necessary adjustments for moving people around in this valley. So congratulations on what you're doing. I'm excited to see these things come into fruition. But Mr. Swallow, I think you're going to be taking a look at the next major corridors, both north, south, east, and west, because it's important, I think. And Commissioner June Kiliani kind of hit it on the head. If we make transportation easy, more people will use it, and we'll get the cars off the streets. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. We do have a number of speakers this morning. I just wanted to let the audience know that we will lose some board members in and around 11 o'clock. So if you would be concise with your comments, and especially those that want to speak to the entire board. We'll start with Ms. Patricia Anderson.
Well, good morning. I'm Patricia Anderson. I'm here to support the drivers. Well, number one, I saved 3 drivers. There was 3 incidents on the bus, and I had to intervene. I helped out on that. So I took care of that situation. 3 drivers are still working. you have very good experienced drivers, and we have to respect them. And they need the respect which you guys are not giving them. Number one, they need a break. They need to be a little bit more a time break. They don't need to be on time points, because a lot of times, like Sahara and Charleston, are very busy streets. They need their credit card. Their credit cards are concerned. These Metro cards, we need to be. I know we talked about it before about having the cards for the Metro cards are concerned and all that is concerned. They need to have like New York City, where, you know, if you have a bus pass, what have you, it's good if it's good until used. The expired bus passes, these people will come on expired bus passes. They want to argue with the bus driver saying it's okay. It's not okay. If expired bus passes buys this bus pass, and you're supposed to pay your fare. Number two, it's not fair to these drivers. It's not fair for these drivers to turn around again. Its bus pass is 2 or 3 days old. It's good. How could it be 2 or 3 days old and it be good? It's not good. That's done. All right? I have interviewed a lot of times with people, and I've been there, whatever. Something happened on Craig bus, and a person put $1 in. And, you know, he wasn't a student or anything. She says, your fare is $2. She said, we're not going to move the bus. Well, wait, I know the driver. I saw the driver. I said, wait a minute, you have a busload of people, and she's not going to move the bus. So she was upset and all uptight, and I had to straighten that out. So that took 6 minutes. 6 minutes, but I got it straight. So she's still working, no problem. She has a job. And the crosswalk on Decatur, there's a long street. We need a crosswalk. These people are running across on north side, getting on the bus. A lot of accidents happen all the time. What intersection? So we need the crosswalk, and we need something. We need something to help the drivers, this crosswalk, so people can go across. The far is the pay. Now, the bus drivers do not have a lunch hour. You realize that? No lunch hour. None. Okay. My suggestion is you need to turn around again and give them $265 as far as extra in their pay.
Thank you, Mrs.
That's what
Ms. Anderson,
that's what
thank
I
you.
feel they should have.
Right.
Because I would break it down to
Our
$10
next-
a day.
Ms. Anderson?
Would have a lunch hour.
No,
they need this.
Patricia.
Okay?
Your time's up, and
But-
just to the audience, hold the clapping, or you're going to take away her minutes. So please.
Okay. I don't
no.
mean that. I know I had a lot to say. I understand.
And you're going to have to wait for the other speakers.
Oh, I'm
next
sorry.
speaker
Okay.
is
Okay.
Mr. Mendoza Jr.
Okay. Have a good day.
And
morning,
also,
Mr. Chairman.
we don't mind the clapping, but we can't hear the speaker when the clapping's going on. So if you could hold your applause until after they're done, it would be appreciated.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. At this time, I notice that you have Ally Barton here, and we want to go on the record that ATU is not advocating any violence. I do want to start with our Vice President hand-delivered a letter that we had of concern on behalf of the bargaining unit. And for the record, I asked Tina to go ahead and put it for the minutes. And I did email you the copy of that letter. If you could please forward it to the commissioners. Back in February, the commissioners were warned by several concerned employers, a politician named Mr. Woodbury, myself, saying that we wanted parity, not disparity. And we're here, and hopefully in the end, after you hear some of our members speaking to their concerns, we be heard. And this was back in February when we addressed this concern. MVCO stated here back in February that there was going to be no changes to our wages. Well, guess what? We just received their economic proposal. And I am sure the RTC staff here would not like a 10% cut. That is what NV is proposing. I believe Ms. Tarkanian, Mr. Ross has just walked out. They were very concerned about the wages and benefits. We are not seeking disruption of service, but when you propose a 10% cut, there will be labor unrest. Someone lied to the commissioners back then, so hopefully the commissioners kind of find out who was the one that did the lying, because we're not going to sit back and accept a proposal that is totally, totally unacceptable, not only to the negotiating team, but also to the bargaining unit. While this is only one yard, the yard is in the North Las Vegas area. So those who represent that area, we ask that you do address our concerns. Back in February, Mr. Pate said that MV will stand down. Well, we say to the commissioners, if this is what they're proposing, they need to stand down and MV must go. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph Campbell. Joseph Mark Campbell. Mickey Easley. Okay. Mickey, if you would, if you come up and sit. And after Mickey will be Robert Naylor. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I just want to state for the record, my name is Joseph Mark Campbell. I just have one quick question. I'm not going to tie up the minutes. Everyone needs to speak. What is your guys' definition of integrity? Because we were told a couple of months ago that that would not be messed with, and we've been getting proposed that we'll lose wages from what we have now. We'll lose bereavement time and PTO time. We all need time from the jobs to recharge our batteries, so to speak. And when those privileges that you guys allowed Veolia to give us taken away, we don't have those privileges. So when we have those times off where we know to go out of town, see other family members, we don't have that opportunity if MV is allowed to go forth with their CBA. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Mickey. I'm a member of ATU. I have a couple of concerns. When this first was taken over, we were one big family from two different yards. Now we're split into two, but we're still one family, because what happens to one happens to all of us. And us at Keolis, we plan on supporting whatever happens to those drivers in Nevada, in North Las Vegas, because if it happens to them, it could very well swing over to our yard. I have a concern with our yard. I asked two different managers as far as our uniforms. When Veolia left, we were all up for our yearly voucher to get uniforms. I was told that they were going to talk to the union, September 11th negotiation, so that they can get vouchers out to us. Well, that didn't happen. So I went to another management. He tells me he was contractually only obligated to supply 3 uniforms. Well, first of all, they didn't give us any uniforms to start with. They had us during orientation bring 3 of our old shirts from Veolia into them so that they could put their patches on them. Well, we only have 3 shirts. So how are you going to enforce a uniform policy when you have given us nothing? We're all representatives of RTC. Those buses we drive out there, they say owned by RTC. So we're representing you as well as our company. So when you have a bunch of drivers out there with grungy uniforms from the seat belts, stained up uniforms, pants that's too small because everybody done got fat sitting in them seats, you know, because we eating on the run. It's not like we having lunch, but you know, when you sit and eat, you're going to gain weight because it ain't got nowhere to do but spread out. You know, me being one of them. I ain't missing no meals, but, you know, when you put those seat belts, our seat belts on our buses are very dirty. So when you put them across you, you have your shirts are stained in the front. We just want to know, where are our uniforms? You know, everybody's wearing Veolia jackets. They told us to take them down to the uniform company. I took mine to the uniform company. They say they're gonna dry clean them and do them for free. Well, guess what? The uniform company tells me, oh, just leave it and we'll get to it as soon as we can. But it's cold now. Do you think people are gonna be out here and be cold? No. We're not gonna sit out here and be cold for you, them, or nobody else. It's too cold at 4 o'clock in the morning when I go to work. So I'm not going to sit up here free, so everybody's wearing Veolia jackets because we don't have none. Now, the other company, they underbid it, but they got their whole company uniforms. I mean, Keola's bid it up there with Veolia, and we get nothing. So we just want to know, where's our uniforms? That's all we want to know. Where is our uniforms at? Thank you very much.
Sorry, Robert Naylor, and the next speaker
I'm
will
Robert
be
Naylor from ATU,
Robert-
1637.
Hold on. Robert Naylor, and the next speaker would be Robert Gonzalez, if he could move down towards the front.
Chairman Brown, I didn't put in a card to speak, but I want to speak before everyone leaves. Thank you.
I'm Robert Naylor from ATU 1637. As far as Jose Mendoza said, the economics that they proposed is not good. They're trying to cut pay. As you said, Ross, you're not going to get your best bang for your buck. MV's not the best bang for the buck. They need to walk exactly what they said in February's meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Robert Gonzalez, and Sam, why don't you speak after Robert?
Hi, I'm with the ATU. My name is Robert Gonzalez, but I remember some of the comments that were made by Mr. Ross and MB and a lot of people, but this is what I have to say. I'm here on behalf of the ATU. The 400 people that aren't here are going to hear what I have to say because I'm going to back them up, and they're going to back me up. We're all one. Even though you divided us, we're the same. First of all, when MB put in their bid for the contract, they knew what the bus driver's salary was and what they were earning, the pay scale. There wasn't any doubt about it. It was in the valuation, and everything said, everybody thought, and their benefits, they said, it could be done, it could be done. They underbid, probably 50 million less. And I ask all of you and Mr. Ross, do you believe that they, MV, are negotiating in good faith? If you remember back when they were trying to win this contract, that's what it was all about, good faith. Now, something went terribly wrong. Either they way underbid the contract, or somebody's getting greedy, or it can't be done. You may have to go back to ask the federal government and Transportation Commission for additional funds. But guess what? Don't let the bus drivers take a hit, because it's going to be between $120 to $300 per month, up to $400 if they work overtime. They're not even going to be able to pay their utility bills while you guys are putting on the heat. That's wrong. They're the last ones that you should go after. Something went terribly wrong. There might need to be another evaluation, but it's heading in the wrong direction right now. That's all I have to say. Think about it.
Morning. My name is Sam Santori. I am the Vice President of Local ATU 1637. First of all, let me say Merry Christmas, a little early. But I'm up here to talk about the proposal that MB put out there. Back in February, we were all lied to. The ATU, RTC, and all the board members were lied to about wage cuts. We were told the wages would stay the same, the benefits would be similar. Well, benefits are also, besides health plans, some of the other things we have. PTO time, which MV plans on eliminating, switching it out for something else at a fraction of what the hours we were going to get. Cut the pay by 10% for everybody and go to a two-tier system. That was what Mr. Kempfer said was going to happen. He was right on 3 of the 4. His 4th item was they were going to come back and ask for more money. I don't know if they've done that, but if they have, I would like to know, because I want Mr. Kempfer to do my football picks for me, because he is right on the point spreads and all. Also, this morning, I got to see Mr. Councilman Ross outside, and he told me flat out, and I appreciate that, coming flat out, telling me, you don't like me and you hate the ATU. No, that's not what I said. Okay. I don't like you. Oh, you don't like me, but you said you didn't like the...
Oh, the members you like, but you said the leadership you didn't like also. Is that correct? Is that? I don't want to.
Hey, address
Okay,
the board.
well, the address is if he doesn't care for the ATU or its leadership, I don't think he should be allowed to vote on anything that concerns the ATU members. Period.
Okay.
We don't like you either, Councilman Ross. You sit up there, you speak with forked tongue. You're for the members. Yeah, you're for labor. You're not for labor. You're for Steve Ross. That's all you're for. Don't forget it.
Thank you. Next speaker is Arlen Shively. Okay, I'm going to wait and have you as the last speaker, and we'll bring that mic up. I might have a mic. And then the next speaker is Mike, and I apologize on the last name, Papato. Are you Mike? We'll get one up. If you want to come up and speak now, that's fine. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Mike, and
Mike, what's your last name? I apologize.
you did it, Mike Papato.
Okay, thank you.
And I moved out here in 1986 the first time, and I worked both union and non-union. And as I'm sitting here today, I'm from Cleveland, and as I'm sitting here today listening, I understand now why these drivers are so obnoxious, rude, abrasive, condescending, pompous, arrogant, and abrasive to the customers. And if you don't like it, that's just too bad, because that's the way it is. And the videos and the audios that they have seen shows where the drivers are that way. Now, whatever dispute they're having, I'm not their problem. And it's not only me speaking in public comment, but when I'm a chatterbox and when I talk to people that I just been riding the bus since November 29, all right? I have severe arthritis in my hips. I got severe spinal stenosis. I'm in the final stages of degenerative joint disease. My guts popped out. My right shoulder is irreparable, and I got type 2 diabetes. I got enough problems without being abused by the drivers, all right? I don't need their nasty comments or anything like that. Now, I get off the bus because a driver is unwilling to help me as to what bus I should take. And while I'm there, I'm talking to 4 complete strangers from out of town. And I go, I can't believe how rude this driver is. And they say to me, yes, our driver on the Deuce bus is just that way with us too. He's rude. He tells us he needs to be more than a driver. He needs to be in management. I'm thinking, they got enough managers in that position. You don't need any more. You know, you got a job driving a bus and serving the public, and that's what it's called, public service. And as a driver, if you got a gripe, don't take it out on me. You should serve the public, and if that's not good, get out of that seat and give it to somebody who will do it. Wash the bus and air the tires if the driving job is too hard for you. If you can't be nice to somebody when they just ask you a simple question of, is this where I need to be, or is this, can I get, I had one driver tell me, talk to the door, and he slammed it on me. Oh yeah, more than once, you know. I'm tired of being treated by the drivers the way that they're treating me. And so, you know, maybe if you got some kind of contract disputes, you know, maybe you ought to think about quit taking it out because you wouldn't like it as a driver doing it, me doing that to you, and I don't think that I deserve that kind of treatment from the bus drivers either. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have, see if our mic's working up there.
Am I last? Am I last? Because after I speak, I'm going to leave. This has been most enjoyable. I have been.
Arlen, I'm going to put your name on the record. Arlen Shively?
Arlene Shively.
Arlene Shively.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes, I forget to tell you. I'm here so often. In fact, I forget what it is myself. But anyway, I am so happy to see people fight for some of their little basic civil rights. as riders with the RTC, in no matter what capacity, we do have rights. We should be treated fairly, and of course, we should treat the drivers fairly. But it's so easy to become reciprocal at times, especially when you're old and have pains, and I know the drivers are tired and they have their pains. But it has been interesting for me to see people come out and express their personal grievances. I only have one. I, quote, was disavowed from the public fixed route, and I haven't yet found a driver to disavow me because they realize that I treat them the way that they would treat me. So I have had most kind treatment, but it is possible for you to get unkind treatment. And it's hard for human beings to get along. This is Christmas time. Everybody should get along. The passengers should get along, and the drivers should get along. And this is a horrible month to hear these gripes. Now, what the union is saying, I could have told you this was going to happen a year ago when I was in problems with paratransit. And I don't even hear paratransit down here fight. Nobody fights paratransit but me. And I only fight that stupid appeal process where you only have two people to determine your future, and there's a God upstairs who is going to determine theirs. So I don't even bother about those two individuals. But when God tells me, get up out of the bed, Arlene, you only have 14 more years to 100. Go down there, express your beliefs, and listen to other people, and realize we're not going to take it forever. There's going to these drivers have been abused by the RTC. I'm talking about the fixed route drivers, and I haven't even been on it. I've been a paratransit driver until I got mad at some little stupid paratransit appeal person, and seemingly I have used words that even are not even in my vocabulary. But one thing, everything is taped. And if I call you an MF and it's on tape, you're going to play it back to me, and I'll kiss your butt and apologize. And if I'm being accused of having done it and haven't done it, you better get ready to kiss mine. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Okay. Thank you. Ma'am?
Hi, my name's Melissa Wendell. I do drive fixed route for RTC, for MV. And I've been sitting back listening to a lot of stuff go on at the yards. Been watching it. You guys talk about doing route changes. Maryland Parkway is a good start. Sahara Express was a disaster. I opened it, I know. Okay? Think about what we go through every day, and then you want to cut our pay by 10%. That's wrong. See how would you guys like it if you got cut back $2 an hour, your benefits decreased, but your increase to pay on your benefits? What are you going to tell your family when you can't take them to the dentist because you can't afford it, or you can't afford your electric bill? This is what we go through. We deal with crackheads. We drive the ghetto at night, not you. I'm 5'4". Most of the people come at me. I drive the 214 105. That's Martin Luther King and H Street. Okay? I'm not going to let some man sit there and hit on me when you guys expect us to sit behind that wheel and not move and take abuse from nobody. My father never hit me. My old man never hit me, and I'll be, excuse my French, damned if I'm going to let some strange man beat on me. You guys have to understand what we go through. We can be the utmost respect, and we give everybody the utmost respect until they start disrespecting us. And there's only so much we should have to take. Now you want to cut our pay. Our uniforms, yeah, we have 3 shirts. We got our jackets, finally. It took me 3 months to get my jacket. Okay? You have clothes to wear. You have clothes to wear. You have more than 3 outfits to wear a day or a week. We don't. We don't get a lunch. Okay? We're lucky because at the end of our routes, that is not our lunch. That is not our break. That is recovery time, is what we're told. Turn and burn. You try sitting behind the wheel for 4 hours dealing with the public and not being able to get out that seat because you're down on paddle because you've got traffic out there you got to fight. Nobody does this. We do it. Security, they're not out there with me. They were supposed to be there on Sahara Express with me. 7 o'clock, I seen them bringing them down from Red Rock. Yeah, they here now. From Red Rock Casino. All the way down to Maryland Parkway for them to go back to clock out. From 7 o'clock on, it was me out there doing it. All the way into the ghetto. Where Sahara goes all the way into Lake Mead and Hollywood is beyond me. But it does. But it isn't you guys up there 11 o'clock at night. It's little old me by myself. See what we go through. Then decide when you want to make your cuts.
Thank you, Melissa. Are we okay on?
Thank you. My name is Tom Pesic. I'm from North Las Vegas. I'm sorry to see some of the commissioners have already left. I'm not a public speaker. I get nervous up here, so bear with me. I want you to know I'm a million miler. I've driven for RTC and you guys for over 15 years. A little disclaimer against MV, you know, I understand what they're doing. It's business mentality, business 101. I've been there, I've gone to college, I know what they're doing. Reduce costs, increase profit margin. They're doing their job. What they're doing is wrong, okay? Let it be known that this started, what, 3 or 4 years ago, right? Where we are today is 3 or 4 years ago. This vote on First Transit, are we voting First Transit in? Are we voting First Transit out? First Transit got the contract? No, they don't got the contract. Who's in? Who's out? My job satisfaction in over the past 3 years has been ridiculous. I've lost sleep. I've lost the communication with my wife, my family. My kids are wondering what the hell's going on. Sorry. What's going on? The revote, going to court, in and out of court. Do they got the contract? Who's got the contract? Nobody knows. Split yards. We're going into something else. Now we're going to different contracts. Now we're bringing somebody else in. Now we're bringing somebody else in. Now we're guaranteed this, and here we are. We knew this was going to happen. You split the yards. People put in a bid. Veolia put in a bid, a company that ran this place for how long? And they put in a bid. You think they're going to lowball their bid? No. Because they want the contract. I mean, come on, common sense. They want to stay. They want the contract. Somebody comes in, X amount of money under, and you think you're going to get a deal by taking it. The money's going to come from somewhere, right? The money's coming from somewhere. Guess where it's coming from? It's coming from us. It's not right. What I'm asking, what I would like for you guys to tell me, and if you have, you know, what it takes to tell me, look me in the eyes and tell me where you stand. Are you with us? Do you support us? Or are you against us? I've driven for you for years. I'm a million miler. I get up in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, I get dressed, I go to work, I shower, I go to work. I'm there. Clean uniform, ready to go to work. I'm loyal. Where are you guys at? I want to know where you're at. Look me in the eye and tell me, you know, are you gonna let us have the, and the one thing I'd like to say is the timing of this, man. It's 2 weeks before Christmas. You know, my wife is wondering what the hell's going on. My kids.
Thank you.
Morning, members. My name is Hugo Flores. I've been driving for 3 years. I find this kind of outrageous and quite insulting that MB wants to cut our wages 10%. Now, for this kind of work that we do, all the stress, this hecticness, this danger we go through every day, our wages are already pretty crappy. I mean, seriously, $9 an hour to 12 to start driving $1 million buses? Come on, man, where's the logic? Anyway, look, you guys claim to care about the right in public, okay? Now, with these wages that we get, I don't think you do. Like the gentleman over there said, well, these drivers are rude. They don't treat us right. It reflects on the wages, okay? You don't treat us right, it's gonna trickle down to the public. It's obvious. Employees are not treated right, they're gonna take it out on customers. So we don't make a lot of money. This is pretty insulting. 10% cut. We already don't make any money anyway. As for me, I don't care. I can go get a job anywhere. I'm gonna tell you right now. What about the guys coming up? The guys that try to apply, what they do? They last a month, 2 months, and they're gone. There's a problem. Figure out what the problem is. Seriously. The public is crying out loud there. The service is bad. They're right. Pay the drivers a decent wage. That'll fix it. Thank you.
Commissioners, I didn't get a chance to make out a paper. Can I speak a moment?
Please, if you just state your name for the record.
Okay, my name is Robert Tobin. I'm the #1 seniority driver in the whole city. I've been driving 41 years. I'm a 3 million mile safe driver. Most of you folks, back when you came in, RTC was created, I was part of that in the old days. All of us was pushing for you guys because we thought we was going to work for you guys. But as it is, we're working for everybody else. I'm on my 3rd or 4th employment year. But what I got to say is it's got worse. I'm serious. It's worse today than it's ever been in my 41 years. And you want me to tell you why? I can understand a guy saying he's not treated good. We don't have time to treat people the way we would really want to treat people because we got to load and go. The schedules are so tight, we're running right on 2 minutes. They say, well, give us time to go to the bathroom, let us know 5 minutes in advance before you start loading. Well, you're usually there where you got 2 minutes to run up a hill, fall down in a gravel, trying to get to a restroom. Half the time you can't even get to the restroom. And then they're watching everything you do. The radio operator wants to know if you're 2 minutes late. If you are, you get rode up. So one night I got rode up because I was driving to 102 Jones on Duneville. 2 old ladies came out of that little store down there. One of them got on my bus and said, my friends are coming. Will you wait on her? And I waited, and I got rode up for it. That was with Viola. That was not this MV company I'm working for now. But we don't have time to wait. If we're told to pull off and leave them standing in the middle of the street waving at them because we're told that. We got to get that bus rolling. They say your job is not to pick up people, it's to roll the bus. When pull off at the end of the line comes, you must roll the bus. And it's terrible. I'm telling you, commissioners, like I said, I've voted for you guys and everything. I know all of you. You don't know me. But I can write a book about when I retire, that's what I'm going to do. Write a book about my 41 years or whatever I get, driving the city transit in Las Vegas, Nevada. I guess I can sell y'all a book today here. Because I'll tell you about the naked man I picked up once. I'll tell you all kinds of stories. But I see my time's running down. But the bottom line is the schedules are too tight, too many rules. You ain't got time. All these strapping in these wheelchairs for now with 4 straps. People don't want. We can't got time to be friendly with them. That's what I'm trying to say. So anyway, thanks for listening to my side of the story.
Thank you.
Well, you can guess who I am.
Okay.
Anyway, it's been a year and a day.
Would you put your name on the record?
Santa. It's been a year and a day since I was injured on a bus, or hit on the bus. I still have headaches. I'm still going through workman's comp, but I have not received a check from them since, July 6th, when Viola laid us off. I'm now living out in the desert above Dolan Springs, about 3 miles from the turnoff of the Skywalk. And it's damn cold. I'm living in a little trailer. So there's a lot going on out there, but you guys still have not got any proper transit police out there. Every one of these cities that you had up here on the board, they do. How come Las Vegas is such a small city? Because they don't protect the drivers at all? Not psychologically? What, you got Ally Burton? They're a monkey joke. So let's get together. You guys are all elected. What's going to happen next election? You know, you guys make $250,000 a year, unless you're on 2 committees and make $500,000 or more. Take 10% of that instead of taking it from MV. Take 10% of that and start hiring some transit police. Let's get it all together. Let's start protecting the drivers out there. I'll never work for RTC again. And you ought to hear what I hear talking to people out there. It'd shake you up, because they all know your names. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Councilwoman Tarkanian.
Yes.
Hold on just a sec, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I have to leave to go to a very important meeting with the mayor. I have, however, wanted to say something. I know when we considered the change and who was going to get what, that we were very specific in detail as to would your salaries be cut or not. And we were told they would not be cut. Okay. And I would expect that they would stay with what they committed to us, because a commitment is something when you make a vote on it. Now, because I have to leave, however, I've spoken with Councilman Ross, and he's going to convey some questions we have, some information we would like to have about all of this, and then he will share it with me. And so, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Carolyn Higgins. I'm the financial secretary of the ATU Local 1637. And what I wanted to do right now is have everyone to stand that are representing this system that we are so hard trying to perform our jobs. We're really doing a great job. We can all give each other a clap. We have run into some snags, and we do appreciate the Keolis drivers supporting MV. I am an MV driver, and I will still be an MV driver, but fair is fair. Thank you.
Councilman Ross. Councilman, do you want to speak now? This is our last speaker?
No, we got a couple more.
No, well, who else needs to speak? Would you raise your hand? Okay, would you come down and sit, and these two will be our last speakers. Anyone else wishing to speak? Don't want to prevent anybody. Okay, these two will be our last speakers. Appreciate your patience. Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Kiki, and I represent ATU. I am a member. I have sat at many sessions here with RTC, and every time we come here, everybody seems to move around that's on the board, don't want to listen to what we have to talk about. Y'all talking on your cell phones, texting, talking among each other. Everybody that left from up there don't want to hear about what we got to talk about, but y'all want us to hear about all the street plans on Moreland Parkway, on Sahara, but we need to talk about our 10% cut. We need to talk about our bathroom breaks, where y'all putting these bathroom breaks at when it's closed at 24/7 early in the morning. We go to a restroom. Where we gonna use the restroom on the 110 at Cheyenne and the Commerce, the college. It ain't nowhere to use the restroom at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Where are we supposed to use it at? At the bus stop outside? I don't think so. But what I'm here to say is that everybody that's on this board needs to wake up. Your salary ain't getting cut. You ain't got to budget your bills. I got to figure out who I'm going to pay this month to pay Peter and Paul. That ain't right. We got a commercial driving license that we go out and take tests for. We're getting underpaid. We need to get paid for what we're getting paid. I mean, what we working for. We security, we counselors, we all that on the bus. But then we get looked at like a passenger come up here talking about how he's getting treated. How do they treat the driver? We got wheelchairs that's out there, got millions of bags on there. How are we supposed to strap them down? We got to do a four-wheel tie down. We can't. So y'all need to put out a memo on the bus, letting them know all this that's on the back of y'all wheelchairs, it shouldn't be allowed because we can't get it. Right now I'm hurt. My back is hurt from stretching, trying to put a tie down now that's required by our company. But the only thing I want y'all to do is give us respect when we come in here. All that texting on your phone, give us our time. We make it set a time. Some of us have to take off to come down here to talk. But y'all down here, but y'all got meetings to do. Y'all could have set them meetings to the side and listen to what we got to talk about. Everybody's out here need to be respected. Like we are human beings, not animals. You keep giving me that eye look. I'm looking at you. I've been looking at you for years. And you do the same thing when we come in here and talk about.
Address your comments to those that still are here.
I'll talk to all y'all. And y'all have a good Christmas. And I hope y'all get to get gifts for your family that we got to figure out who getting one and who not.
Hello, my name is Pierre Devlin.
You can pull up that mic.
Okay. I haven't worked for you guys for that long. It's only been like a little bit over a year. I'm pretty young, you know, but you know, I like it here. I'm originally from the Bay Area, and you know, I wanted to start a family and everything. So, you know, I bought a house, car, stuff like that. The wages that you guys pay actually kind of make it difficult for me to take care of my family, you know. I know, and you guys know that there's Obamacare and everything now that it's going to require everybody to have health care. Well, I mean, I can't even remember the last time I've been to the doctor. It's not because I don't want to go. It's just because I feel like I can't afford to go. And then now they're talking about cutting the wage. I already didn't have health care because I couldn't afford it. So now they're going to cut the wages. So now that's even more things that I have to worry about affording. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's just kind of, you know, like, you guys might see us as like statistics and numbers, but we're actually really people. I mean, I have a family like you have a family, you know? When my paycheck comes, I have to use all of my paycheck. You know, sometimes I have a car, yes, but sometimes I decide to walk to work because I can't afford gas or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys might not have these problems, you know? You guys are on a salary and everything like that, but I started at $9.30. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. We all want to see Las Vegas as a big, prosperous, growing city, but I mean, they don't even have a pension, you know? I mean, even if I worked here, like, there's a lot of people who said they've been here for years and everything like that. I remember my grandfather, he was in transit, and that actually made me want to try that out. You know, that's what made me want to start working for you guys and everything like that. When they told me $9.30, I almost passed out. I didn't even think that that was even realistic, you know? I mean, I don't know where you guys get the numbers and everything like that, you know, but I mean, unless you're eating ramen noodles every night, how could you possibly live off of that pay scale that you guys are actually have set? You know, like those cities that you brought up there, they actually do pay their drivers actually good money. Like, I'm pretty sure that in those cities, those guys are actually middle class or even close to it. You know, I'm actually probably lower than the poverty level, you know, because of the pay that you guys are giving. I mean, I understand you guys probably get government funding and everything like that. I don't know how you guys work it, you know, with these third-party people, you know, how that works out. I mean, but if you guys could at least try to even think about it, you know what I mean? Maybe the passengers would have more respect for us if they actually thought that we had a respectable job. I mean, how could I feel respectable if I'm only making like $9 or $10? I could work at McDonald's and possibly make that same wage. I mean, it's, you know, it's kind of ridiculous, you know? I mean, I just want at least enough to take care of my family, you know, and have, I mean, I'm not asking for too much. I just want to have a family like you guys, you know?
Thank you.
That's it.
Appreciate you speaking. Okay. Councilman Ross, did you have any?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to be brief. I clearly, and if I would ask the ATU members, please just be quiet for a minute while I get this all out, while it's all fresh on my mind. I remember distinctly, Ms. Quigley, our conversations in discussing in an open forum like this that these companies were not going to balance their books on the backs of these employees. I remember that clearly. Please. That being said, I think it would behoove this board, the rest of us, if you would brief us all on current negotiations and where they're at, so we're abreast of these issues. I think that's cognizant and probably prudent on our part as board members, so we kind of get an idea what's going on, because I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied yet, and they've had lots of time to negotiate. They knew what they were getting into when we started this process. We as a board knew what we were getting into as well. But $9 an hour, I would also like, through the chair, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Quigley, if you would prepare a report for us of other cities our size and the wages of those transit drivers. Please. Please, you guys, please. I think this is important. We care too much about our system and what we're trying to do. You talked about Maryland Parkway, you talked about all those great things that Mr. Swallow talked about as well. In moving forward, moving this organization forward in regards to public transit, we can't have a second-class staff running a first-class system. We just can't have that. I don't know how else to say it, you know? And I think it's important for us to do that. So understanding both these companies, knowing what they were coming into eyes wide open, I'm still not going to change my position. Councilwoman is with me in regards to that. We remember clearly our comments long ago about not balancing their books on the backs of the workers, and that's very, very important to me as a board member. I know as councilwoman as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Tina. If we could, in January, set a meeting just for an update to the board.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have it as
per statute.
as a report for your board meeting in January.
On behalf of the rest of the board, we do wish you a sincere Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holidays as best we can. And thank you all for coming down. Meeting adjourned.